minutes into midday in Central African time. Well, here we are on Channel Africa, and we're planting the seed, as we always do on a Sunday. We're already 7 days into the month of September 2025. If you happen to catch this broadcast live, well, welcome to the show, and thank you for tuning in. Planting the seed, all about agriculture and formulating new narratives around regenerative futures. It really is so impactful, the work that African people are doing, you know, to really make the planet a better place. Thank you very much for tuning in. A pleasure to have you join us this afternoon. My name is Matsheko Musito, with you until 2 p.m. in Central African time. We are on satellite, channel PAS 10 across African regions. Otherwise, Southern Africa, OpenView HD, channel 628, DSTV, channel 802, World Wide Web, channelafrica.co.za. We're going to do things a little bit differently. Of course, we always begin with the agri-stories of Africa. And this is us really paying attention to some newsworthy places and spaces and really looking at what's worth talking about. It's going to be no different. However, we are going to be moving Agri-Stories of Africa to just after 12:30. We're going to begin with a conversation just before the wonderful CEO catches his flight. Okay, we're going to catch him on the way in. CEO Tom Mkhwanazi. He is the CEO of the Agriculture Retail Hub at Ingwe. And they are doing something so phenomenal. So it was on Friday, the 5th of September, when they came through with some groundbreaking developments where we look at the space of education, skills, economic growth in the Eastern Cape province here in South Africa, with, of course, in partnership with the Higher Education Ministry, with Dr. Nomusa Dube-Ncube, in her capacity as Deputy Minister, coming together and launching this wonderful initiative with the retail SETA, as led by CEO Mkhwanazi, and they basically are going to be doing this at the Ingwe TVET College. So we're going to talk about the initiative. We're going to talk about its funding model. We're going to talk about wholesale and retail SETAs, and particularly this one, and what its aims are all about. So join me in conversation with CEO Tom Mkhwanazi, CEO, I beg your pardon, of Retail SETA, and it's going to be just wonderful to find out about this work. After one very interesting, something we've never really done before, talking about snakes. Yes, that's what we're going to be talking about, but really looking at it from, we cover really all sorts of conversation on the space when it comes to agriculture, but we also talk conservation, ecology, innovation, as we move forward. So we're going to be speaking to Donald Schultz, and he is the founder of Snake Farm, and the work that they do is really about rescuing snakes from people's homes and lodges. But we're going to talk about we really are going to look at this holistically. So we're going to be looking at life-threatening incidents, you know, that require this kind of service. We're going to look at the research. We're going to look at the anti-venom research as well, emergency response, so many interesting things around the work of Snake Farm as an organization. So Mr. Donald Schultz, who's always very busy out in the bush somewhere, has made some time to talk to us after one. So there's lots to look forward to. Food fact coming through. We're going to look at a very wholesome story time. That's all I'm going to say. Otherwise, you've got to stay tuned if you want to find out what that's all about. We're 8 minutes into midday in Central African time.
Get the news, music, and lifestyle of Africa on Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Nkhanza zokhudza amuna ndi azimayi kapena kuti gender-based violence, GBV, zikuwononga mioyo komanso kuphwasula midzi. Zikuchitika m'manyumba, m'masukulu, malo ogwirira ntchito, ndipo kwambiri mwakachetechete. Koma sizikuyenera kupitirira. Mukazimva yankhulani. Ngati mwakhuzidwa, funani chithandizo. chifukwa kusachita chilichonse sikuthandiza. Mverani kuma wireless onse 14 a SABC kuchokera lachitatu pa 23 mwezi uno wa Julai kuti mumve zokambirana, malangizo, masewero, zionesero za maphunziro ndi mafunso okhuza nkhanza za amuna ndi azimayi ndi akatswiri, anthu opulumuka ku nkhanzazi, okhazikitsa lamulo komanso dziko lonse lokhuzidwa ndi nkhanzazi. Zonsezi pa wireless yomwe mumayikonda ya SABC. Imbirani pa nambala 0800 428 428 kuti munene za nkhanzazi kapena kupeza chithandizo. Nkhanza zokhuza amuna ndi azimayi zimatha ndi inu. Uthenga ukufikani kuchokera ku SABC.
Planting the seed digs deep into the trends shaping Africa's agriculture. Every Sunday, 12 to 2 p.m. with Matseko Musito. Expert insights and real conversations on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Tune in and turn up the volume. This is Channel Africa.
Oja daddy, alaga ibile.
Oxlade.
If I give you love and I don't get money, say you no go run away. And in my first call, you call a giant foreign, say you no go know my name. Mommy, I don't have for this thing called loving, so you no go run away. Cause someone give me, I don't try. I go here, would you be mine? Oh baby, I don't try. But my friends, they ask me why. Should I you, I choose no why?
I give you so much loving, why support it too? Now you they make my heart they go. Coco de co, color love, sumo red, be sober, no be pito. My head correct, as I be, I know they repeat it. You no go wrong, go Mali, don't run away. If I take money, see I go she far away. Many blessings we go soon come my way. We can take some time off, then we go far away. Manoli and Lori, I spend the bundle. To my deep night time, I watch a kung fu. Mama caress and rub where enough. Mama baby, baba do jadi, Jimonsu.
If I give you love and I don't get money, say you no go run away. And in my first call, you call a giant foreign, say you no go know my name. Mommy, I don't have for this thing called loving, so you no go run away. Cause someone give me, I don't try. I believe would you be mine? Oh baby, I don't try. But my friends, they ask me why. Should I you, I choose you, why?
Bono, Oja tell the road safety, Kole mono. Cause to talk the truth, you bad for real, Already to pack me and my girlfriend, I would love to love you, but we no go come out to Japan, she curfew. Oh, yeah, FaceTime me, tell me what you up to. Kiwa farabale boy, mon sip from bottle. Manoli and Lori, I spend the bundle. To my deep night time, I watch a kung fu. Mama caress and rub where enough. Mama baby, baba do jadi, Jimonsu.
If I give you love and I don't get money, say you no go run away. And in my first call, you call a giant foreign, say you no go know my name. Mommy, I don't have for this thing called loving, so you no go run away. Cause someone give me, I don't try.
13 minutes into 12 midday in Central African time. Thank you for tuning in as we talk agriculture and talk regenerative futures across the African continent, whether you're listening from Namibia, whether you're listening from Zimbabwe, from Zambia, from Malawi, from Rwanda. Hello to our good friends in Rwanda, whether you're tuning in from Senegal or South Africa. Welcome to the show. It is a pleasure to have you join us on Planting the Seed. Today, as I'd mentioned, we're going to kickstart with a conversation spotlighting a groundbreaking development within the space of education, in the space of skills. okay, skills development, economic growth for the Eastern Cape province here in South Africa. It was on the 5th of September, which is actually just this past Friday, when the Deputy Minister of Higher Education and Training, Dr. Nomusa Dube-Ncube, together with local leaders and the wholesale and retail SETA, as led by CEO Tom Mkhwanazi, they officially broke ground with an 80 million rand agricultural retail hub at Ingwe TVET College. All right, sounds very progressive. And as I understand it, this initiative, fully funded by the wholesale and retail SETA, is not just about the bricks and mortar. It's really about building futures. This hub is set to give focus on cannabis production and processing for medical and retail use, while also equipping learners with advanced ICT skills. And this project, already 25% in completion, is going to be a wonderful facility that really promises to open new doors for young people when it comes to empowerment, job creation, very, very important in the South African region as you and I speak, and innovation in this particular region. A pleasure to have the retail SETA CEO Tom Mkhwanazi join us on Channel Africa this afternoon. Welcome, Mr. CEO. Thank you very much for the time this afternoon.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your listeners, and I'm happy to be with you guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the time. Let's talk about what this means. Let's talk about the collaboration between government and the retail SETA and how that particular collaboration came about.
Remember, WNR SETA is a skills development institution, which is a government institution and reports to the Department of Higher Education and Training. So our role is to facilitate skills development, and as part of our outcomes is to support TVET colleges in order for them to be able to provide teaching and learning into the communities. But at the core of the mandate of the SETA is to ensure that we create opportunities for young people either to start their own businesses or to get employed. And also we focus on those that are in the employ of the organization. However, based on this particular project, we are focusing really on the young people so that we can create opportunities for unemployment and economic growth, but also ensure that we focus on rural communities, because a lot of young people want to leave rural communities and go into urban areas, while we know that the resources there are limited. And then I think another area of importance for us is to focus on agriculture, because that's where I think opportunities exist, especially on TVET colleges, because TVET colleges provide skills quickly for those that are finishing school, so that they can be economically active.
Okay, so I mean, this is a really big project, Mr. Mkhwanazi. We're looking here at a project that carries 80 million rand as an investment. You're obviously giving us insight into just the impact that you would like to see this particular project come through with when it comes to job creation, skills development, etc. But let's talk about the focus on cannabis production and processing that for medical or for medicinal and retail use. Let's talk about why that's such a big focus.
We know that the cannabis area is an area where a lot of our people have been planting cannabis for some time. However, there hasn't been really any beneficiation in terms of creating opportunities and also economic opportunities. So it's an area that is almost new in for us in terms of taking it further than just smoking, cannabis. And we know that it does have got a lot of spin-offs economically, and we therefore want young people in South Africa to then start looking at that particular area and ensuring that they are skilled, but also they take opportunities from an entrepreneurship point of view. But thirdly, to also use technology in terms of implementing agricultural aspects related to cannabis, because I think there's going to be really a lot of opportunities from a medicinal point of view, but not just for that, but for just an economic point of view in terms of how people are going to use cannabis.
All right. If you've just started listening, thank you for being here. You are listening to Planting the Seed, exclusive to Channel Africa, speaking to wholesale and retail SETA, that is, of course, the CEO of the wholesale and retail SETA, that is Tom Mkhwanazi. We're looking at a groundbreaking project, okay, that is going to be, of course, happening through the Ingwe TVET College, 80 million rand within the space of agricultural retail hub that has already been set up and launched on the 5th of September. And we're talking about what it's really about, the hub itself, what this institution is going to be doing in terms of pioneering the space, particularly of agriculture, and its supporting fraternities. Let's take a short promo break. We'll be back in a moment.
Channel Africa, your voice, your sound, and your home. Stay logged right here.
Es-tu préoccupé par quelque chose? Es-tu passionné par les questions qui comptent? As-tu une voix qui mérite d'être entendue? Eh bien, nous avons la plateforme parfaite pour toi. Téléphone-nous ou fais-nous un WhatsApp au +27 66 408 87 42 et nous te rappellerons. Sois dans la conversation.
Salut Channel Africa, ici Beno le diamant rouge aka Binal Export depuis le Cameroun, le pays des lions. Voilà.
Sois dans la conversation. Il ne s'agit pas seulement de parler, mais c'est ta chance d'exprimer ton point de vue, de partager tes opinions et de t'engager avec une communauté qui valorise ton avis. Suivez-nous sur les réseaux sociaux, visitez notre site www.channelafrica.co.za et préparez-vous à partager vos points de vue sur Channel Africa, la perspective africaine.
You are listening to Planting the Seed with Matseko Musito on Channel Africa.
Talking all things wholesale and retail SETA, as led by CEO Tom Mkhwanazi, who joins us on the line. Mr. Mkhwanazi, let's talk about the decision to go with Ingwe as a TVET college, the significance of that at this time.
The significance of that is that we know that Eastern Cape is one of the poorest province in the country, firstly, and secondly, it is in a rural area, and we know that people in rural areas are in dire need of economic opportunities. And I think thirdly is just to ensure that we want young people to start looking at TVET colleges or vocational education as a career of choice. And I think those were the driving factors for us to partner in this particular area. But we also know that Eastern Cape has got a very thriving agricultural kind of an environment, and this will have other spin-offs, obviously from us, from a retail point of view, logistics, and ensuring that what we then get planted there and produced from an agro-processing point of view gets sold, and then it creates then an economic opportunities and it creates employment. But we also see young people starting their own businesses, because not all employers in South Africa can absorb young people that are leaving colleges and universities currently. So we want them to see them as entrepreneurs. So this program, when we then start implementing, the program will also focus on entrepreneurship, so that the young people that are coming from the programs really start to build their own businesses and create employment amongst the community.
Very, very important. And I think just on that note around empowering young people to start their own businesses, technology forms a big part of sort of, integrating that into trying to be an entrepreneur in this day and age in the world. So let's go beyond agriculture and talk about something very important that's part of this particular project. We understand that there's also going to be an ICT laboratory that's going to be included within the hub. Let's talk about the importance of integrating technology and skills in this particular project.
We also know that agriculture is now moving beyond just people just planting. We also know that we're now moving into technology. Currently, you would know that there is drone technology that is coming through. So we want that for young people to get the skills, as you know, that all of us are in the 4IR stage at the moment. So that is why it is important that we create that kind of an environment, whether for e-commerce purposes, whether it's for omni-channel, or whether it's for data analytics. And that's really, really important because, or AI for that matter, we really want to see young people now start using technology, even in the agricultural space, in terms of making decisions related to stock, what they are planting in their own environment, in terms of really understanding even the soil in that environment from a technological point of view, because I do not think that we live in a stage where everyone constantly has to, be constantly digging and planting. So we are just getting technology being part of what is expected of this kind of an environment. Even agro-processing, we want them to start thinking about how can they then use technology from an agro-processing point of view. And from a retail point of view, we also want them to really start using technology, because that will be important for them to be able to run their businesses and become enterprises.
100%. The project is already 25% in, Mr. Mkhwanazi, 25% already completed, with 20 million rand, as I understand it, already spent. What are the timelines that we're looking at for completion and rollout of the programs?
We're planning that the project, it will be finished in 2027. However, just looking at how the project has been going, and I think we were quite trying to ensure that we don't have problems, but the way that the project is going, it doesn't seem to be mired by a lot of issues that usually are connected to programs of this nature. So we are hopeful that we will do this program within that period. But in terms of the timelines, we want to implement it by 2027. But we're hopeful that it could be done even much earlier.
Yeah. Earlier would be wonderful. Really, it would be. And lastly, before we let you go, Mr. Tom Mkhwanazi, just the bigger vision, with everything that you've said during this short conversation, just give us a glimpse into your future vision for the agricultural retail hub as we see it now, but also how it can not only perform in the space of transforming Ingwe as a TVET college, but the wider Eastern Cape economy.
I think what we want to see is that the college needs to then start thinking, and we will be with them in this journey, is that they don't just use college as an educational institution, but they can also use it as a social enterprise, so that because as part of the structure, there is an agricultural hub. So we would like to see the communities getting involved, not necessarily at the student level, but from a community point of view, in terms of how it can then assist the community to grow, even start selling some of the produce that will then make a spin-off in terms of bringing funding into the college so that we can implement more other projects into this particular program. And then the other issue that I think is important for us is to start collaborating with other SETAs that are playing in the space so that we can ensure that this project does not become a white elephant, but it becomes a sustainable project for the future of our young people.
It sounds exciting. I'm already living in that timeline with you. Thank you so much for the time. That is the CEO, Chief Executive Officer of the Wholesale and Retail SETA, Mr. Tom Kwanazi. Thank you and all the best for the project going forward.
Thank you, Maseko, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's 12:30. And if you'd like to catch this conversation, we'll have the YouTube link up for you on Facebook. If you'd like to just click on it, it will be available on Twitter as well in the next few moments. We're going to get into our agri stories of Africa and just look at what's been making waves, what's been making news on the African continent. Stay with us.
favorite songs, your favorite stories on your favorite station. This is Channel Africa. Love music, love culture, love life. Then you will love Channel Africa.
This is us bringing you agricultural and regenerative future conversations wherever you may be listening from. Thanks for tuning in. We're moving through with some beautiful music, okay? Moving from Guinea to South Africa. We started with Sipho Hot Sticks Mabuse. He's a legend here. He's a legend here in the Southern African music space. Coming through with Burnout, one of his greatest hits. I beg your pardon. And of course, we came through with a gentleman who really made waves, not just on the African continent, in many regions, but also around the world. In Finland, he was number one, in Belgium, in Spain, in the Netherlands. His name is Morikante, the late great, coming through with, he came through with so many songs. Yeke Yeke was the one that put him on the international stage, and what you just heard was Mbalia. It is a grand classic here on Channel Africa, and it is leading us into this week's edition of Agri Stories of Africa. So just in case you're wondering, as a regular listener, why is it that we're doing it now? Well, we had to accommodate a beautiful conversation that we had with the CEO of Wholesale and Retail CETA to talk about a very important project that's happening in the Eastern Cape region of South Africa, or province, as it were, of South Africa. And they're doing such amazing work with agriculture. And I really wanted to fit that conversation in before he catches his flight. So let's do it. Getting into our first Stories of Africa, looking at the world's agri-food systems and the fact that they are at a turning point. And with more than 1.3 billion young people globally, the future of food, jobs and resilience depends on their full involvement. A new Food and Agricultural Organization report that is named The Status of Youth in Agri-Food System highlights how young people are essential for driving innovation, productivity, as well as sustainability within the space of agriculture, while also exposing the barriers that limit their participation. This is a report that also shows the transforming agri-food systems and also how it can create decent jobs, improve food security, and empower youth as leaders of change. It calls for bold policies, and investment as well is a big one. And it also ensures rural youth are not just beneficiaries, but key drivers in a more inclusive and sustainable food future.
Africa, voici Abedi.
Oui, c'est moi.
Abedi est un passionné de musique dans l'âme. Il a un goût pour toutes sortes de musique et passe ses journées à écouter Channel Africa.
J'aime beaucoup la musique africaine.
Ok. Devinez quoi? Channel Africa veut aider Abedi et les mélomanes du monde entier à découvrir encore plus de musique incroyable. C'est pourquoi Channel Africa appelle les artistes africains à soumettre leur musique. Chers artistes, n'oubliez pas de nous fournir toutes vos informations pertinentes à l'email adresse musique@channelafrica.co.za. Les soumissions sont votre chance d'être entendues, mais elles ne garantissent pas une playlist. Toutes les soumissions seront soigneusement examinées pour voir si elles répondent aux exigences de notre station. Channel Africa, la perspective africaine.
Today's youth aren't just the future. They're the change our agri-food systems need. 1.3 billion young people currently live across the globe. Nearly 85% of them reside in low and lower middle income countries, and more than 40% work in agri-food systems. With the right support, youth can bring the vision, energy, and entrepreneurial spirit to find new and innovative ways to produce, package, and transport the food we all need. But too often, they face barriers, limited access to education and skills, land, finance, networks, and decent work opportunities. At the same time, climate change threatens livelihoods for over 395 million rural youth. In many regions, young people are compelled to migrate from rural to urban areas or abroad. But there's hope. If we ensure that they are adequately nourished, educated, and equipped with resources and a voice in decisions, young people can become powerful drivers of change. The payoff would be enormous. Youth can boost productivity, build resilience, and foster healthier diets and stronger economies. If all youth had access to decent jobs, the agri-food sector alone could add an estimated $670 billion to the global economy. This requires bold action, interventions to strengthen youth access to education, land, finance, and digital tools, as well as investments in infrastructures and inclusive policies. The world's agri-food systems stand at a crossroads. A resilient future of food depends on the youth potential we unlock today. Because when young people thrive, agri-food systems do too. Let's empower the next generation. Let's move food forward.
It's 1:45 in Central African time, our Agri-Stories of Africa. Let's check in with another happy new development thanks to an 84 million euros African Development Bank investment under the Livestock and Fish Farming Value Chain Development Project. Communities along Cameroon's coast and in the southwest are experiencing renewed hope through fish farming. The initiative has introduced a fast-growing, low-fat African catfish strain developed locally, which then means that it will reach market weight in just 5 to 6 months, boosting a good 80 to 85%. That's what it's going to enable when we look at really cycles on a year-to-year basis. It was since the year 2024, so since last year, around 50 hatcheries have produced over 115,000 fry, while 280 fish farmers, many of which are women and young people, have benefited from comprehensive training across the value chain. The project, as we see it, aims to boost national fish production by 10,000 tons annually by the year 2027, cutting dependence on imports and strengthening food security. Improved product quality has already spurred demand, and market facilities are being upgraded to ensure hygiene and dignity for the vendors involved.
Wriggling red tilapia swimming to the surface. Fisherman Boris Kamgo hopes these fish, farmed on the palm-fringed Dibamba River in Cameroon, will help curb the country's dependence on frozen imports. Spicy grilled fish served whole is one of Cameroon's de facto national dishes, but around half of the some 500,000 tonnes of fish consumed per year is bought from abroad, while the rest is almost all wild caught. He's part of a new government-backed aquaculture movement seeking to grab a larger share of the ever-growing market for fish in the country of more than 20 million people. The 32-year-old has travelled to China, the Netherlands and Vietnam to learn how to raise red tilapia and pangasius, a breed native to Asia, that he realised would thrive in Central African waters.
With this, I think we can conquer the market. As filet, it exports a lot. America buys a lot of it, Europe as well. And now we need to develop a fish that will feed us and earn money.
Market dominance is a distant dream, but fish farming is on the rise across Cameroon, with over 10,000 tonnes produced in 2020, compared with 5,000 tonnes in 2018, according to the Fisheries Ministry. Kamgo is also eager to share his expertise.
We train our students here. This is a system I put together with retrieved local materials to train my students to reproduce the fish. Because where I trained, the technology is more advanced, we can't find that material here, so I decided to make a local system that can train people, enabling them to recreate it on their own.
The government removed all customs duties on imports of aquaculture equipment to encourage the sector to scale up further earlier this year.
All right, that story time, if we can call it that, is proudly brought to you by Reuters. Let's move to Rwanda, where the International Fund for Agricultural Development, or IFAD, as it's known for short, has partnered with Japan's Ministry of Agriculture and private companies, including Osti Group and Rwanda Nut Company, to boost the macadamia nut value chain. So this new initiative, as we see it, launched under Japan's G7 presidency in partnership, or as part rather, of the enhanced linkages between private sector and small scale producer programs, which connect big corporations from the global north with small farmers in the global south to promote sustainable and productive farming. So through the strong ties with rural communities, IFAD helps link farmers to these opportunities as we see them. That means that they're going to continue on the mission that has been ongoing since the year 1978 in terms of being able to reduce poverty, to improve food security, and build resilience across developing countries on the African continent as well.
In April 2023, the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries of Japan announced the launch of the Enhanced Linkages Between Private Sector and Small-Scale Producers Initiative, or ELPS. As a G7 presidency's initiative, implemented by the UN's International Fund for Agricultural Development, IFAD, the ELPS initiative aims to forge partnerships between corporations in the global north and small-scale producers in the global south to promote efficient and environmentally friendly farming practices. Such partnerships lead to improved quality and a stable supply of agri-food products. The initiative also seeks to enhance food security throughout the world, including in Japan, through joint investment by the public and private sectors. It has a specific focus on connecting small-scale producers and private sector companies, leveraging the extensive networks that IFAD has cultivated in rural areas of developing countries since its founding in 1977. In summer 2025, under a new partnership with Osti Japan and the Rwanda Nut Company, IFAD and the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries of Japan will launch the second ELPS initiative intervention that aims to strengthen the macadamia nut value chain in Rwanda. The ELPS initiative will continue to develop similar interventions in partnership with private companies around the world.
Imbogamizi duhura nazo ku buhinzi bwa makadamiya ni kuba nk'ubu umusaruro tubona si wo twakabaye tubona iyo tuza kuba dufite uburyo bwo kuhira, kuko iyo wuhira umusaruro uhoraho kandi ugahora ari mwiza, ariko ubu iyo ari sezo y'izuba umusaruro tuba tubona utari mwiza, na kiriya gihe kizigeramo zo kwiyarira nkeya. Iyo wuhira ifite uburyo bwo kuhira umusaruro uhoraho kandi mwinshi, numva ariyo mbogamizi duhura nayo yo kutabona umusaruro uko twakawubonye. Ikindi ni uburyo bwo kubona ifumbire ihagije. Ibiti bingana gutya kugira ngo uzabihaze ifumbire ntabwo biba byoroshye. Dufite uburyo bwo kubona ifumbire ihagije, umusaruro tubona ubu ntabwo ariyo twakabaye tubona.
Makadamiya yadufashe kurihira abana amashuri, guturuka muri segonderi kugeza muri kaminuza. Ariko nta kibazo, mbese ubona ko makadamiya yadufashije. Iyo tubonye udufaranga tuza tugaragara dushyitse, tukagira icyo tukitumaza. Iyo tukibonye tugahita turangiza ikemura ikibazo dufite.
And on that note, we're going to wrap up our Agri Stories of Africa for this week. Thank you very much for listening. Planting the Seed gets very interesting after 1 p.m. We're going to be speaking to a herpetologist who runs an institution known as Snake Farm, okay, and they are just leading in terms of being groundbreaking, coming up with anti-venom research, as it were, and that's what Snake Farm is. Basically, it is an anti-venom research and emergency response center that is based in KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa. And we're going to talk to him about how he's partnering with conservation spaces, I beg your pardon, how he's also come up with this extraordinary non-traditional anti-venom kind of medicine, if I could call it that is not, it's not, when I say it's non-traditional, it's because anti-venom takes quite a long time to do, but they come up with it literally in just an hour. And they bypass along processes that we've seen antivenoms to be about. So we're going to talk about herpetology. We're going to talk about snakes in the wild, community, conservation. All of that fits into the ecology of the conversation that we're going to have with the mind behind this wonderful space known as Snake Farm. His name is Donald Schultz, and he's going to be joining me via Zoom, and he's going to tell us what on earth he's doing with snakes in the KZN region. But I think it's really just such an exciting initiative, and it's always really interesting to tap into these spaces, because when we look at human existence, it's not separate from nature. We're not separate from the environment. We're not separate from biodiversity, as it were. So it's going to be really interesting to tap into this and really see how the farm is rewiring and rewriting the script on snakes and humans and how they coexist. I really encourage you to listen to this one. He will be online with me just after 1.
Your favorite songs, your favorite stories on your favorite station. This is Channel Africa.
Ngekele mwinda ya inzu ya munuete ngeka kalenda tubila mundu mambu muke zolakae bakanange munuzola yai bikala diambu diange na munuete unukezolange Sola motindo nange ikele be dalo bangula betu me uvanda affaire ango entre yo nangai. Munuke bakanange munuzola yai bika
Ba-da-dum, bam, 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 yeah. It's a yeah. You gonna my one side, you make me give number. Me no feel look and pass. She give me eye contact. Oh baby, Jack, come on. Oh baby, Jack, give me this your love. Me I go show you love, as long as you know with me, Joe. Your body must go kill him, and I know mine to be one of them. Columbia, your body name, I want to make my mind a rest. You better make a day with you, cause it's solo show than they cost. Baby, turn around, make a come back down. Feel like I take it by now. You like a boss like Anna. Show to me love, Amaya. Put all the love for trousers. You make me want to get dance, girl. Mama, yeah. Control shift to your pants, girl. Come taking my banana. Yeah, now this kind thing. Your body they stand it, no, no. Your body they draw like a bono. Your body they hot, you don't know. Feel like I take it by now. You like a boss like Anna. Show to me love, Amaya. Put all the love for trust. Say you get one girl, will show me love. That time I've been there play along. Right now I want day for this love. Oh no, yeah. I'm on her when she enter, she cause sick casala. Miss my flight, I jump in your car. Girl, I want you and I miss your banger. Oh no, yeah. Girl, you sweet like feel like I take it by now. You like a boss like Anna. Show to me love, Amaya. Put all the love for trousers.
Two minutes into 1 p.m. in Central African time. A pleasure to have you here on Planting the Seed as we talk all things agriculture, but also looking at regenerative futures holistically on the show. That's what we're all about. And I did tell you that this conversation right now is going to be pretty exciting because the show over the last few years has really been essentially about agriculture, but we also look at ecology, we look at conservation and innovation as well. So we're going to be diving into the wild today, if I could put it that way, but we're going to do so with purpose. We're joined by Donald Schultz, and he is the visionary herpetologist that is behind Snake Farm. Snake Farm is a groundbreaking anti-venom research and emergency response center that's based in KwaZulu-Natal, in right here in South Africa, I want to say. And they have partnered with conservation leaders like We Wild Africa and other places and spaces, which Donald is going to tell us about. Snake Farm is also, I think what makes them so interesting is how they are rewriting the script on snake and human coexistence, as you and I see it right now. And they are using advanced biochemicals, or whatever the term is, you'll tell us, but really interesting scientific methods, so to speak, when it comes to how they also produce antivenoms. And it's not just an antivenom for the sake of it. It really is innovative in terms of being able to bypass the long processes and creating antivenoms within an hour, which is really, really amazing. So let's expand on the work. Let's expand on the research and the science. Donald has a few minutes for you and I, and he joins me on the line. Donald, wonderful to connect with you once again. Welcome to Channel Africa.
Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, if the internet gets slow, I'll have to turn the video off. We are in the middle of the bush.
Yes,
so the
that's
good thing
fine.
is lots of animals. The bad thing is not very much internet.
Okay, no, that's perfectly fine. We can hear you wonderfully. Before we talk about Snake Farm and the work that we do, and just by the way, I'd met Donald at the Tourism Investment Forum Africa that took place in KZN about two weeks ago. And we just started to speak about Snake Farm and the wonderful work that they do. And now he's on our show. Donald, what does a herpetologist actually do?
So herpetologist is from the root word herpes, right? Like if you think of herpes sores, and that actually means creeping, right? So that's where the word comes from. So a herpetologist is someone that studies things like reptiles and amphibians. So I've been working with reptiles and amphibians since I was 6 years old, started in Durban, and then did a lot of the work that built up to this in California and the United States.
Okay, fascinating. And for people that are interested in knowing about Snake Farm, farm is spelled rather with a PH, just by the way. Can you perhaps talk to us about what inspired the creation of the space and the core mission, if you could elaborate on my introduction?
Sure. I grew up in Durban, so I was very well accustomed to dealing with deadly snakes. And I used to work at the old Fitzman Snake Park, which is on the Durban beachfront. And so there we did a lot of education and conservation. So we used to go to people's houses where there were snakes in their houses, very much like Snakes in the City before it was a TV show. So learned a lot about snakes, human impacts, the good side and the bad side of snakes. And that basically became a calling in getting venom for biotech research for drug discovery. So did that for about 10 years and then realized that there was actually a bigger need in the world for anti-venom than for new drugs. So then dedicated the work at looking at making a new anti-venom. And what we do that's special is we use snake blood instead of snake venom.
Okay.
So the way anti-venom is made right now around the world is you take venom from a snake, you inject the horse for the course of a year, increase its resistance, take the horse's blood, purify that, and then give it to people. It's very time-consuming, very expensive. And at the moment, South Africa has no antivenom made in South Africa anymore. South African vaccine producers used to produce antivenom for the whole of Africa. As of last November, they don't supply any more antivenom. They're busy refurbishing their lab, with talk being it's going to take about another 9 months before they can supply doctors with antivenom. So what we do that's different is we take the blood from a snake and we purify that and we give it to patients. So instead of taking 1 year, it takes us 1 hour. And the work that we did is we tested it in California, first in healthy animals, mice, rats in the laboratory, and then in dogs that were bitten by rattlesnakes in the field with incredible success. But in America, where I lived, only 10 people die of snake bites per year out of the whole of the United States. In this area where I am, in December, 3 people died. So sub-Saharan Africa, 40,000 people die of snake bites a year. So the work is really here in Africa specifically, but more specifically here in South Africa, and more specifically to that, Northern Zululand. This is the hardest hit area for snake bites.
Okay, I'm fascinated behind the science. The science behind this really fascinates me. You don't use snake venom as per tradition. You use the blood, as you explain it. What is it about that method that makes this particular science faster than the conventional way of doing the snake venom?
So here's a thought experiment. If I said to you, here's R1 million, go build a banana, pick more bananas. So that's what we're doing, is we are picking resistance from nature. Whereas the traditional system is building resistance over the course of a year to harvest that. So what we do is we capitalizing on 70 million years of coevolution. What I perfected was the sustainability of it. So our logo is 2 American snakes. One of them is deadly, one of them is not. The non-deadly one provides the medicine for the deadly one. So it's like a permaculture approach, right? The problem is the solution. But what we can use is black mambas are very resistant to black mamba venom. So why take black mamba venom, inject a horse, build up a resistance, purify it, and then give that to a patient? We can just take the black mamba blood. And that's what we do. So instead of trying to build an antibody or build a resistance, we're just harvesting this antibody that already exists And the process that we do is only become possible in the last 10 years. And that was through research in chickens and antibodies that chickens have. Well, I just copy pasted that onto reptiles, and we use that same procedure. So it's been known, it's just not been done. And with advancements in research and biotech, we've actually now made it exceedingly simple. When I moved from California, I moved into the bush, even further north in Shishluwi than I am, to live off grid for 5 years to see if we could do this in the field without water, electricity, ambulances, police, all that stuff. And it's really easy. It's very low level technical expertise to do this, and it's very sustainable. Because if you think of anywhere in the world that you have lots of snake bites, well, you have lots of snakes, which means you have lots of medicine. And so it's a very short step between snake and medicine, whereas the traditional system, you need horses, you need venom, you need many more snakes, because snakes have less venom than they do blood, and then you need time. This system is quicker, seems to be better, seems to be safer, and excludes horses from the production process. And in research, we're always trying to eliminate suffering. So if we can take an animal out of the process, and this being horses, we already eliminated some suffering.
Oh, that is wonderful. And I love the permaculture sort of ideal in the work that you do. Okay, so let's expand on those ideas in terms of just the coexistence of humanity with snakes. Snakes are a reality, especially in the areas that you've mentioned, where you grew up, where you move around in your work as a herpetologist, as a researcher, as a storyteller, and all of that. So let's talk about that delicate space of human beings and snakes and how they can coexist, and then how spaces like Snake Farm then contribute to a seamless flow, if I could use that term, of how we can live with snakes at this current time.
Yes, I mean, snakes have been around a lot longer than humans. They're going nowhere, right? And a lot of people are scared of snakes, and justifiably. Like, they do kill a lot of people. Here in the bush, it's very bad, because the closest hospital is an hour and a half away from us that has medicine if they have it. And a mamba can kill you in under an hour. So the likelihood of a snake biting someone and killing them here is very high. That being said, you also got spitting cobras and puff adders and other snakes here that are very, very common. The reason we are here is because lots of snake bites, lots of snakes, not lots of medical help. So the approach we have is threefold. One of it's obviously anti-venom production. That's why we exist. The second is snake farm, which is with the F. So we're farming snakes. So we produce snakes, because obviously we can take snakes out the wild, but more sustainable is make our own snakes. So last year we had 180 baby snakes born, released 150 of them. And the final thing we do is conservation education, which is if we can stop a snake bite, that's better than treating a bite. So we're on 24-hour standby call out to remove animals, all sorts of animals, everything from crocodiles to lizards to snakes, to stop the human-animal conflict. But we're never going to get rid of snakes. So part of it's education with people on what to do when they see a snake. Like the Zulu culture here, you see a snake, you kill it. Well, if you try and kill a snake, it's going to try and kill you, which is fair, right? And so we try and educate people. There are, I hate to use this term, but good snakes and bad snakes. Like one cobra we have here, the forest cobra, very big, very deadly, doesn't bite people. It eats other snakes. So if you've got this big forest cobra living around, it will eat the spitting cobras and the puff adders that do bite people. So in actually having, the devil you know versus the devil you don't, it's good to have that around because it takes care of all the problems. So that's a lot of what we do is attacking these myths that people have, but also acknowledging them. Like if you think of sangomas, they use python and puff adder fat on snake bites. Well, that's exactly what we're doing, just more elegantly. So we don't want to discount the traditional knowledge or the traditional knowledge base, but some of it is misinterpreted. And there's a snake here called the Cape File snake, which the Zulu custom says it's an evil snake. You must kill it and burn down the hut that it's in because it brings lightning. The truth is it's actually a non-venomous snake that eats spitting cobras and puff adders, and it comes out during lightning storms. So they're actually killing the snake that would benefit them. So there's a lot of education here that it's hard. It's built for us to be scared of snakes. But when we have a facility here with 100-odd snakes, and just today we had a lady that saw a snake yesterday, had a panic attack. The end of the day today, she has a snake around her neck. And there's a certain, you can shift those perceptions very, very quickly if people are in a controlled situation and understand what's going on. And a lot of the time when we do call-outs, I spend a lot of time after I catch a snake educating people. If you see a snake, you can leave it alone, leave it alone. If you see a snake and you can't leave it alone, don't kill it. Because if you start killing it, it's going to start killing you. It's fair. And then after that, it's like how you live, it makes a big difference. If there's a lot of rubbish around your house and lots of food, that brings rats, rat brings snakes, and then you have issues. Whereas if your house is nice and clean and tidy and there's not lots of food lying around, then you're less likely to see snakes. But Zululand equals snakes. Like that's just the bottom line.
Right. Okay, so you've really just stirred all kinds of curiosity around. Let's look at the umbrella of conservation with regards to snake farm and the work that you do, because you speak about how you also farm with an FARM, farm the actual snakes. How does that contribute to conservation then?
So, I mean, the funny thing is snakes don't really need conservation. It's kind of like, it's controversial to say this, but rhinos, elephants, lions, cheetahs don't need conservation. Their habitat needs conservation. Right now, there's an overabundance of lions, there's overabundance of elephants, there's overabundance of rhinos in South Africa with inappropriate places for them to go. So we need habitats, right? So like a lot of the snakes that we work with, if they have habitat, they're going to be fine. So we don't need to do too much in the way of snake conservation. It's more habitat conservation, right? But with the snakes that we catch, we don't catch snakes here in the bush. We only catch snakes in people's houses that are going to get killed otherwise. And so like Durban, Mpangeni, Richards Bay, Belita, those areas, that's full up with snakes. There's actually more snakes caught there than up here because the snakes have more space. But as far as education goes, it's educating people that snakes do good. If you have a forest cobra living around your house, it's not going to only eat the puffedders and the spitting cobras and the llamas, it's also going to eat the rats. And the rats out here are so destructive. I mean, they've eaten the electricity out of my Land Rover, they'll eat your clothes, they eat your food. And if you've got a snake living by, it manages that. We do have a rabies problem and other things up here as well. Snakes manage that. So that's where the conservation of that comes into. But I try and shy away from we need to conserve the panda or the white rhino or the this. It's like we need to conserve ecosystems. And when you understand that everything deserves conservation, it's easier to conserve, right? So recently we had a python that was trying to eat a 4.3 meter impala. I'll send you the video. A 4.3 meter python tried to eat an impala and got stabbed on the way down. Split its jaw open, regurgitated the impala, and had all these holes. So as Mvelo contacted me, like, can you help us? I was like, absolutely. This is a big, giant, beautiful snake that needs to go back into the wild. So we brought it into the hospital here. We sutured its jaw shut, gave it IV fluids for 4 weeks. Week 5, it was able to drink and eat. And in week 6, we released it. It was actually seen on the Tembe elephants, the webcam up there again recently, fully healthy. Why is that important? Well, giant snakes are the first ones to disappear. And so these giant snakes are becoming fewer and fewer. So like a big female like that can breed has massive implications. So normally people want to conserve the warm and fuzzy or cute or whatever. No one wants to conserve snakes. So it's important to say to people, we need to conserve everything. But really more than just animals, we need to conserve the soil and the trees and the habitats and all that. But there also has to be conservation of the people living in these environments. It's easy to sit when I was living in Los Angeles drinking a cappuccino. You're like, conserve this, conserve that. When you're living in the bush and you don't have water, you don't have electricity, conservation is the last thing on your mind. Survival is the first thing, So when the communities around these areas are uplifted, they can then think about something other than survival, which is conservation. And conservation and tourism go hand in hand. Without conservation, you don't have tourism. Without tourism, you don't have conservation. So those two things need to basically support each other. And in doing that, support the communities that live there every day. It's different coming to visit this area for 4 or 5 days. Like, wow, elephant, lion, cheetah, wow, go home. The people that live here every single day, they have to live with the elephants in their backyard and the leopards stealing their chickens and the pythons stealing their goats. And then the conservation topic becomes a little bit more controversial, but it's not impossible.
That is fascinating. You've just opened a whole new door for me that I didn't think. Without conservation, we don't have tourism. It's so important. And I didn't think like that. I didn't think like that at all.
Yeah, and you will see, like, in this area when COVID hit, right, and we lost tourism, conservation collapsed. immediately collapsed because the tourism drives conservation. And that's a big deal because a lot of these people that work in conservation now have to go into poaching to survive. And there's two types of poaching in my mind. One of them is poaching a horn for money to get rich. Another one is going out and killing an animal to eat, right? And if I had a family and I had no food, I would kill an animal to eat. Like, you can't tell someone conserve on an empty stomach. And that's where it gets really tough, is people in these communities that live in these communities need to have renewable sources of income so they don't go to the subsistence poaching, because that's literally how they live. That's how they live and eat and have for years and years. And you take away jobs and money, what else can they do? Like, there are no other options. So conservation, we talk about biodiversity. There's a thing called eco-biodiversity. Humans and animals living together in harmony, and St. Lucia's a great example, where the hippos walk through the middle of the street and it's harmonious. That's a great way. The hippos draw tourists, the tourists bring money, the money creates jobs, that feeds the people. And that's the thing that South Africa really needs to figure out, is that conservation tourism work very well together, but they have to be synergistic.
Right. Okay, if you've just joined us, we are in conversation with Donald Schultz. He is out in KwaZulu-Natal as you and I speak. He is a herpetologist and the man and the visionary behind Snake Farm, a groundbreaking anti-venom research and emergency response center based in KZN. A lot of the work that you're doing, Donald, sounds like it's just based on education. Education being a key part of your work. You are showcasing endemic and exotic snake species in a way I've never heard before, and also just shifting our perspectives as humans in terms of how we can foster, what's the term, like a safer coexistence, between human beings and snakes, as it were. But another interesting wing within the work that you do, beyond just anti-venom production, is Snake Farm provides emergency call-out services for snake encounters in community settings. Please talk to us about how that works. How does the typical response work, and how is it actually making a difference in community?
So, as I said, from here to the closest hospital is an hour and a half away. So if someone gets bitten here and it's a mamba or bad cobra bite, they're not even going to make it to the hospital alive. And even if they, able to get to the hospital, there aren't really ambulances. And even if they get to the hospital, there may not be medicine. So we try and intervene between the animal and the people. Down in Durban, where there's lots of people, there's snake catchers every 5-10 minutes. So if you have a snake in your yard, you call someone to come catch it. I'm pretty much the last person on the N2, all the way up to Pongola and to Mozambique. So sometimes I travel as far as 2 hours away to go catch snakes. A lot of the people here are educated on what the bad snakes are. So we mostly do mambas, cobras, puff adders, and pythons, occasional crocodile. Right. And the goal is to stop people trying to catch or kill the snake, which would cause a bite, and to get the snake out of an area where there's lots of people and move it to an area that is low in people. So that's, I'm here by myself. And then as you go down south, towards Richards Bay and Mpangeni, there's a lot more people. And Ballito, Durban, it becomes more populated with snake catchers. But yeah, my phone's on 24/7. And it's Murphy's Law. Whenever I sit down to have a cup of coffee or a big meal, my phone will ring and there's a snake.
Right.
And it's now that the weather's getting warmer here and the rains are coming, the snakes will start increasing. So we'll start seeing a lot more snake action. And the snake that bites and kills most people in KZN is the Mozambique spitting cobra. Number 2 is the puff adder. Both of them are very common up here. Mambas bites are relatively rare, but when they do bite, the people typically die without treatment. So we make mambas a priority. The last mamba we caught in an orphanage 2 hours north of here, and it had been there for 6 months. The mamba before that, we caught in a residential house in Matuba that had been living there for 7 years. So it shows you can coexist with snakes. They're not going to jump out and kill you and bite you and all that. But if you can move them, especially big mambas, it obviously is helpful. And both of these places we caught mambas at had small children. The orphanage in Jacini actually was a palliative orphanage, so it had about 30 young babies. Right. And the residents in Matuba had 4 or 5 kids under the age of 6. And obviously if they get bitten, it's very, very bad. It's much worse for kids.
Right. Oh, such important work that you're doing. Honestly, and I'm so glad that I met you and that we're having this conversation, because it really, I mean, we're looking at complexities around just our coexistence with snakes, but also some of the difficult ethical decisions that we've got to make around, killing snakes, and, when to do it, when not to do it. So this is very impactful. But as you look ahead, Donald, as we wrap up our conversation, talk to us about where you see snake farms impact growing. You've been doing this work a very long time, but and also you've impacted the space of veterinary medicine in so many big ways. Broader healthcare systems can benefit from the work that you're doing. Even regional anti-venom policies, I would imagine, would be influenced by this work. So as you move forward as Snake Farm, what is the big idea?
So the big idea is twofold. We want to start making anti-venom in South Africa, first for dogs and then for people. It's easier the veterinary route. So that's what we're busy raising funds for now. We're looking for venture capital money. And then in the future, we want to have this as a teaching hospital to teach other countries how to make anti-venom.
Right.
So I've worked in 30 different countries with deadly snakes. And the idea is to have a master plan, just like permaculture, a master facility where people can come, spend 3 months, learn how to do it, and then go back to their countries of origin and make anti-venom. What's nice is using the traditional system that most countries use right now, you can use all the infrastructure, all the animals, you just eliminate the horses. So you go from milking the snakes for venom to drawing blood for anti-venom. So that's our goal, is to supply first KZN, then South Africa with anti-venom, then the whole of Africa, then the rest of the world.
I like that. I like it very much.
We do teach a lot of doctors and nurses and veterinarians here at our facility. Yeah, we have. Yeah, so it's not, it'd be great to supply antivenom for the world, but, cost money, tariffs and shipping and all this. It's way better if you have a country with a lot of snake bites. Well, then you've got a lot of snakes. Then you just need the technique, the expertise to do it. And that's what we're going to teach people is how to do it. Teach a man to fish, right?
Right. Okay, I think our line is breaking up a little.
So that's the big vision, and hopefully it comes to fruition soon. I'm going to turn my video off, and hopefully that's the vision. That's what happens, relatively quickly. But every single day we make an impact. We catch snakes, we help snakes, we help people. So every single day we try and make a difference.
Whew, this is fascinating. It really is fascinating. Okay, Donald, before I let you go, talk to us about Snake Farm and your partnership with spaces like We Wild Africa. I almost forgot to ask you about that, because collaboration is also great in terms of enhancing the work that you do. So what is that collaboration about, and is it still ongoing?
Yeah, we work with everyone. We're agnostic. We will work with everyone. We work with
Right.
Ezemvelo Wildlife. We work with We Wild. We work with international corporations. Sadly, here in Zululand and certainly in South Africa, there's more projects than funding, right? So we definitely try and raise as much funding as possible to make these projects possible, because all of our money goes into research. So, work with Discovery Channel, National Geographic, Smithsonian Institute, other people, wherever possible. And my specialty is snakes, but I work with all animals: elephants, lions, tigers, sharks, all sorts of things. And oftentimes television filmmaking is where the money comes from to actually do the good scientific work.
Okay.
So we work a lot in film production and documentaries, and that's what engages people and energizes them in order to give money. So yeah, we definitely work with a lot of organizations. But sadly, there's more problems than there is, money. So it's difficult, but it's not impossible. Every little bit makes a difference. And we're always looking for collaboration. We're always looking for people to come see. A lot of these things talk about projects. We have a physical presence. People can come actually see. We just had a group of 15 international guests here today, and they can see firsthand what it's like. What we do, why we do it, how we do it, where we are. And that, I think, is very, very important for people to see. This isn't some idea that may happen one day. This is an idea that's up and running and happening right now. And we just want to expand it through the whole of South Africa.
Right. Yeah, I definitely want to visit. I'm so fascinated, and I want to bring children, and we're going to learn about snakes. But where can we find Snake Farm for those productive, funding initiatives for collaboration, for spreading the good news about the work that you're doing, where can we go?
Sure, it's snakefarm.co.za is the website. And then the email address is snakefarmsa@outlook.com. And we've got tons of research and tons of information and all that. I usually say to people, do you want 3 minutes, 3 hours, or 3 days of a presentation? Because I can do any of those. But it's always more impactful for people if they come and see. We're based in Shishlui, near the Shishlui Umfolozi Reserve. So that's 3 hours north of Durban, 7 hours sort of southeast of Johannesburg, like in the middle of Zululand. Like this is the proper Zululand. It's beautiful, yeah.
It is gorgeous. Oh man, it is absolutely stunning. Donald, you are, can I call you a star in the galaxy, or shall I call you a snake in the wild? But you're doing amazing work, and I think...
Don't call me a snake in the grass. It's got negative connotations, but thank you.
In the wild is more beautiful. Donald, thank you very much for the time, and thank you for sharing much of the videos. I'm actually going to play snippets of it, just the stuff that you've shared, the storytelling that's on YouTube, etc. But for anyone that really wants to absorb more of this information, snakefarm.co.za, farm spelled with a PHARM .co.za, if you want to check in with the research, the mission, the vision of Snake Farm under the work of the founder, Donald Schultz. It was wonderful. Thank you for pioneering the space, and thanks for the time.
Thank you so much. Keep well. Hopefully see you soon.
Yes, thank you very much, Donald. Listen, I'm definitely going to go to Tlhotloe. I'm going to take a bunch of children, and we are going to go and learn. I think a lot of what Donald said is educational in terms of, not looking at snakes as an isolated problem, if we could put it that way, but really as a grand part of the ecosystem of our ecology. How do snakes, participate in life as we see it? They're not separate from who we are, especially if we are based in areas like KwaZulu, where there's a lot of snakes, and perhaps other African regions where you stay, where there's a lot of snakes. Okay, they are there. They've been there for many, many years, okay, for many centuries, and they've been there longer than human beings have been. So they carry their own wisdom, as it were, and Donald carries the science and the anti-venom to support their existence as they coexist with humanity. So a very fascinating conversation. The YouTube video for this conversation is available on YouTube. You can check it out there. You can get the link on Facebook and on X as well. We check in with our food fact after a musical break.
Since 1947, the matter never settle. You be what I be get to. Massability lo ya won lenu. Better recognize. Greatest of all time. No other name then go call mine. As I they shut it, I'm not nice. Monday, Dada. Tuesday, Talaba. Wednesday, Dada. As long as I jalaba. And they call me the Godfather. Move like an Italian. Have you ever seen a nigga like moi? Each and every lady wanna give me mwah. When they smoke weed, when they smoke cigar. Now we there, I tryna move on. I know two basking solo man. I get high, adrenaline. You don't like me, one more. My dice is fun alone. Cause my guys don't follow no. When the sky start falling down. 30 my time. I'm still your daddy.
Olele fala. My pretty valley on me. I'm single, follow on me. My jetty color. Wait, follow, follow on me. Engine, the bacalang on me. What I love on me. Wait, follow on me. I pray, color on me. Could you go on say this one and I give you my color, my body with all of me. Eat the bang as well, yap, I eat all about. Jiggy jiggy bang, tell them tell me. Wait, all about me. I'm a melu yustagwa. Kalanja bang na matala. I'm a kiss, I'm a cause savana. Let's go le gulo taba. Shivirim, shiviram, say. You really go boom. This is gonna pay. So battle lo manga me. Yo.
Monday, Talaba. Tuesday, Talaba. Wednesday, Talaba. As long as I jalaba. And they call me the Godfather. Move like an Italian. Talaba,
Love music, love culture, love life. Then you will love Channel Africa.
One of my all-time favorite duos coming through, Les Nubians with Makeda coming through as part of our playlist as we talk all things agriculture. Wasn't that something? Wasn't that something? Speaking to Donald Schultz of Snake Farm. Hopefully the YouTube video will be ready and we can share it with you on our socials. And also our conversation with Tom Mkwanazi in his capacity as Chief Executive Officer of Holten and Retail Sita here in South Africa. And we're talking about the work that they are doing, putting a multi-million rand project, so to put it, in terms of investing in the TVET infrastructure when it comes to agricultural education, helping out the economy and really making sure that young people are prepared for the now and the future. Very, very important conversations that we've had this afternoon. It's time for our food fact. Hashtag food fact comes through every week as part of our show here on Planting the Seed. And today it's more of a wholesome story time, if I could describe it that way. Exhausted from carrying water up the hill to keeping her small farm in Kenya thriving, Josephine Waweru received an unexpected call that offered a nearly unbelievable solution. She shared in this clip that you're going to hear, it's a TikTok actually that she gave, where she was sharing how one simple device allowed her crops and her dreams to flourish. And it offers, how can I say it? It actually offers us a glimpse into what hope looks like. It offers us a glimpse into how we can really face the scourge of climate change, but not with eyes of despair, but with eyes of hope, and that we can actually come through this hurdle in the most spectacular way. So as I'd mentioned, this is a tech talk that was given at or recorded at the TED, Countdown Summit that took place this year, 2025, on the 16th of June.
This week's food fact on Planting the Seed.
My name is Josephine Waweru. I'm a farmer in rural Kenya. I grow vegetables, coffee, and herbal teas, among other things. Above all, I'm a believer in innovation because just a few years ago, I had nothing, and a simple innovation saved me. Today, I want to share with you one powerful insight. A little bit of reliable water goes a long way. It can turn bare soil into food. It can turn hopelessness into dignity. But in the era of climate change, reliable water is exactly what's becoming very hard to find. This is a challenge with millions of smallholder farmers like me around the world. We grow a lot of the world's food, yet when the rains fail, so do our crops, our income, and our dreams. I have lived this struggle. When I moved back into my village in rural Kenya, I had only one cow named Ashley and 1 acre of maize. My home was a simple mud walled house with a tin roof that echoed loudly when it rained, if it rained at all. No electricity, no running water, no supermarkets. I started with nothing. No experience, zero finances. Just responsibility of my children and a small piece of land. But my biggest challenge was water. I actually drank 120 liters of water each day. My only source of water was the river 400 meters far away from where my home stood. So imagine me, 6 times a day, carrying 20 liters, 45 pounds of water on my back, climbing a steep path. I fell so many times. Sometimes the water spilled just before I reached home. I cried. I felt like a wasted resource. But I was determined to move on. So in 2017, I expanded into fruits and vegetables, hoping to earn more. But without reliable water, I had to hire diesel pumps, paying for fuel and labor. I was spending more money than I was making. So in 2019, I turned into coffee farming, a long-term investment. I dug a small pond to store rainwater, but the rains didn't come. By 2020, I was ready to give up. My coffee plants were drying up, my fish pond was empty. I remember walking around my farm each morning, talking to my plants, promising them water is coming soon. But I had no idea how. One night, I lay awake, tears in my eyes. I told God, if you don't give me a solution, I'll stop farming. The next morning at 7 a.m., my phone rang. A woman introduced herself, telling me about a solar-powered water pump from Sun Culture. I laughed bitterly and told her, the devil is a liar. You woke up this early to con people. If you know what's good for you, don't call me again. I hung up. And she called again and again. Finally, I listened. I went to see the pump myself, and I saw a real solution. A pump that did need fuel, that didn't depend on the unreliable electricity grid, just the sun. And the best part, they allowed me to pay slowly over time, what we call pole pole in Kiswahili. I wouldn't have been able to afford the full cost of the system upfront. I took a leap of faith. I dug a shallow well 5 meters deep, and the company came to install the system. As I saw the pump itself this big, being lowered into my well, I was so nervous. This would either transform my farming or yet be another terrible disappointment. Once the solar panels were mounted on the roof and the pump was connected, I switched on the pump, and within seconds, water was flowing. At that moment, I felt a huge weight had been lifted off my shoulders. And I couldn't help but think about hundreds of millions of smallholder farmers all around the world who wear my shoes. They deserve this miracle. And that day, everything changed. I mean, everything. That night, I couldn't sleep, not because of stress. My mind became a factory of ideas. With reliable water source, my farm came to life. My coffee trees thrived. Flowers bloomed. I expanded my fish farming to 7 ponds. I embraced black soldier flies farming, turning farm waste into eco-friendly animal feed. I planted herbal teas. I started making kombucha. And I make the best kombucha in the world. For the first time, my farm was making me money instead of draining it. I came from nothing, and now I have something. I feel like a very useful resource. And I'll let you in on a secret. This didn't just happen by chance. This is my vision board. 1 year, I drew up the vision of my life. And here I am, ahead of schedule. But the most important part in this journey is helping other farmers. I opened my farm to train others, especially the young people, because I believe youth farming is the future. We cannot keep telling our young people that farming is a last resort. Farming is an opportunity. Farming is innovation. Farming is business. And to my fellow farmers, I don't want you to be like me. I want you to be better than me. I want you to start your farms with a business plan, not a burden. I want you to know, with just a small amount of water, you can do incredible things, because this is not just about surviving anymore. It's about turning your farm into a thriving business. I know what it feels to struggle, to question God, and to almost give up. But I also know what it feels to find a solution. A solution that transforms not just a farm, but a life. For me, that solution was a solar-powered pump. But the idea is bigger than one tool. It's about climate smart solutions like solar powered water pumps. Yes, but also solar powered cold storage, solar milling machines, biodigesters for clean cooking fuel, and drought resistant seeds. These tools help a farmer to use less, waste less, adapt to climate change, and make more from every part of the farm. So I ask policymakers, investors, leaders, how do we make this happen for every farmer? What if every smallholder had access to affordable solar irrigation just like I did? What if we combine this with trainings, visioning tools, and mentorship so as no farmer has to figure it out alone? This is not charity. This is climate resilience. This is smart investment. This is food security for all of us. I know firsthand that it only takes a little bit of the right thing at the right time to change everything. To get
10 minutes to go till it is 2 p.m. in Central African time. The voice of Josephine Waweru. She is a farmer in the Kenyan region, and she's hilarious. But also, it's just such a beautiful, heartwarming, wholesome story time looking at how a smallholder farmer can really use adversity as a stepping stone to find solutions. She really is that optimistic, and she's been able to make her dreams of successful crop farming to thrive under the circumstances that she found herself in back in the day. So that is a recording of a TED Talk taken from the TED Countdown Summit of the year 2025 that was recorded earlier this year, June 16 to be exact. So if you just type in Josephine Waweru, you'll be able to find that TED Talk. I think it's so important for those that are just staring at things like climate change with like a deer in headlights. Like, what are we to do? There's always a solution. Speaking of solutions, well, we back with them next weekend, okay, between 12 and 2. We make way in the next 9 minutes for the best sports show in the land. And guess who's in the chairwoman's chair today is Baba Zile. She's going to be handling the programming as they talk all things sports and lifestyle after 2. Hello, Queen.
Hi. Well, it's actually been a while not seeing you, rather.
It's been months.
It's been months,
the whole winter.
The whole winter. And actually, coming up on today's show on Africa at Play, it's actually a action-packed sports show where we have the TLB Boxing Promotions exclusive, where we'll be talking to Joyce Kungwane, who's also known as the sister of Kaiser Chiefs legend Shakes Kungwane, founder of the TLB Boxing Promotions, just talking about the upcoming Heritage Fists boxing event at the Sun City Super Bowl, and she will be telling us more on what makes this event a must to attend for boxing fans. And also crossing to West Africa on the sporting update, where our correspondent Tony Ubani will be bringing us the latest news from the region, and also including the big match, I must say, on South Africa and as well as Nigeria, despite Victor Osimhen's is absent on the team. Well, it's a master lesson on that update, and also the Bafana preview as well, where we have the legendary former captain Aaron Mokoena, also known as Mbazo, who will be able to share his expert insights and also expectations for the intense match against Nigeria. So it's a not must show to miss, rather, on at 2 p.m. rather Central African time, and standing in for Neto Chimane, as we've said.
Okay, awesome stuff. Baba Zile Prue Makhubalo is going to be with you just after 2, and of course in production with Andy Mali, and they're going to take over after 2. Have yourself a pleasant rest of the afternoon. YouTube links for today's agricultural programming are going to be available for you online. Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, click the link and follow the program there if you have missed out on what's been happening. But thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you to Dumi Salema on social media. Thank you to the Gentlemen's Club on our streaming space. And thank you very much to Francis Massina, our TO technical operator, who's been handling business. See you again next week.